If it ain't door mama, then what?
I'm sorry, I should have introduced myself. I go by a lot of names. Some of them are actually a bit cruel and hurtful to me. But I like you, Riri, so you can call me Mephisto.
Mephisto.
Hello.
No, Ironheart season 1. We talked about it last week, and I was very excited to talk about it this week because I felt like I needed the whole picture to fully break this down.
Me too.
We had one half of a story, and I said how I feel about this will 100% be determined on how it can wrap its final, or how it can wrap the season, and how many loose threads are still hanging, and how they end it, and all this various stuff. How about you, Taz? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I've
week
got
2?
I've got a lot of thoughts on Ironheart. So you kind of know where I stood last week. Like I didn't love those first 3 episodes. Like I think it was a little rough for me to kind of get into the feel of the show. Coming into this as kind of the official wrap up to phase 5, this is a character that I didn't see her get established in Black Panther 2. I still haven't seen that movie yet. But I came into it, I didn't necessarily need to know a lot of backstory. I'm like, all right, so this is kind of like our spiritual successor to an Iron Man type character, but in a very, very different way. I think episode 1 starts us off again, in a rough spot. Like, Riri is not very likable to me very early on. But that's the point. So I think, again, it is very much so. I felt the way that I was supposed to feel in those first handful of episodes. I was a little uneasy. I was like, should I really be rooting for this character? Should I be enjoying watching this character who's actively, doing crimes, right? She is actively committing crimes to be able to afford pieces and upgrades for her suit. We don't necessarily know why she is so kind of hell-bent on building this Iron Man-esque suit. We kind of learn about her tragic backstory a little bit in those first few episodes. Her best friend Natalie, her stepfather get killed in a very tragic way. She feels very helpless, and that is why we have this introduction of, okay, she wants to do or has to do whatever it takes to be able to build this suit of armor so that she no longer feels powerless, so that she can help people that have gone through similar things, or to prevent similar things from happening in the future. I think, yes, there's a lot of elements that people can draw, like different negative context to, is she, she's not entitled to all of these certain things, and, the whole aspect with the Tony Stark privilege and all of that. I think that that's a very interesting conversation, but I think that she ends up going on a journey where she earns her title in a lot of ways. She's not 100% there, but I think that she earns her way to a decent protagonist by the end of this series for me. I think just in a general context as well, I think the show has a very unique visual style. I mentioned this last week. I really like the title cards. I think the music works very well. I think the shot composition in a lot of ways is very good. There's a lot of Dutch tilts, Dutch angles. I really like that. I love that technique, and I think it works very well in this show as well. I think it's color graded fairly well. The effects look very good for a TV show. I think the biggest standout is the fact that the suit is practical sometimes, or it looks practical, it looks tangible, like it's not nanotech. I think that is really, really good. I really like that element of actually getting to see her fully get into the suit, fully get out of the suit, that sort of thing. I really enjoy that. I think my favorite element in that first kind of half of the season was her interactions with Alden Ehrenreich's character. I think he was a very good addition to the show. I liked kind of seeing his kind of build up from a very, very different style of character to who he ends up becoming, is as far as like an antagonist goes and everything. I think that he creates a very interesting dichotomy there, right? Is so Riri seeks him out as somebody to help her on her journey and somebody to kind of use as a backdoor kind of, wild card against her, her fight against the Hood, right? So she knows that Parker is bad news. She knows that she's working for a crew of criminals, but she's thinking the ends justify the means at this point. So she's putting her faith and her trust in somebody who she thinks will be on her side in the end. However, the dominoes fall in a way in which all of these, not necessarily lies piling up, but all of these different things that she's taking on pile up one after another. After another, she gets way in over her head. They do their big heist, and it ends with the death of Parker's cousin. Riri is, for all intents and purposes, responsible, and she also leaves behind evidence linking Zeke Stain to Riri and now the criminal organization that is going through with these heists. So not only is she responsible for the death of a crew member, but she is now also responsible for exposing this guy who she very much so brought in forcefully and promised that he would not be caught up in it or would not be involved in it. And I think ending off that first half of the season, ending off the first half of the season with that, again, put it in a difficult spot for me. Again, like I said a lot last week, is Riri just seemed very unlikable at the beginning. She was making so many mistakes, going down so many different paths that your typical MCU hero does not do. And it made it very tough for me to connect to this character. And I was in a spot, I was like, I'm not vibing with it. But I was like, hey, we got to sit here. We got to, sit with it. Let's think about where this show can go, because there was the one element that was saving it for me, which was kind of this magical side of things. Where does the Hood come from? There are rumors of our boy Mephisto finally popping up after all of these years, going back to our WandaVision speculation back in the day. So I had to hold on for the long haul. And I have to say, I was so much happier with the back half of the series than I was with that first half. And this is a whole other question or a whole other conversation to have at some point as well. But the fact that they split it into two halves versus, again, weekly drops, or even making it just like a special presentation or a movie or something like that, I think that there's definitely a question to be had about that. But again, going into the back half, it was such a stronger side to the show. I wish the entire show was like this back half of the season. There was a deeper dive into the magic side of things. We got to really deconstruct Riri's motivations and her feelings of inadequacy and, can she live up to this mantle of Ironheart that she's creating for herself? She realizes, hey, I'm in way over my head. I have joined this criminal organization. My best friend is a AI that I accidentally created, and what's the morality behind that as well? You've got Parker going deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole because he has lost the only family member that he has left. And he is gunning for Riri this entire season, or this entire back half of the season, might I say. He uses Riri's old allies against her with Zeke Stain, giving him upgrades and making him, just again, a adversary for her to take down. We have the battle for White Castle, which I thought was hilarious, and it reminded me of the Power Rangers battling over Krispy Kreme. So Ironheart goes to White Castle. Very, very funny. But yeah, we're building this entire season towards that kind of mesh, that merge of magic and tech, or magic and science. And finally revealing, again, who's been kind of pulling the strings in all of this. And that Mephisto reveal, man, like, I think I can give a pass to every little issue, every little nitpick I had for the sole fact that they finally gave us this character that I've wanted to see on screen for so long. I'll save my thoughts for a second, but what did you guys think of Mephisto?
You know what's so funny is I didn't care about Mephisto as a character, mainly because I don't know. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I love Mephisto. I've read every. I don't know. I don't know the guy. The only
What's
thing
a
I know about
Mephisto?
the guy, right? Like, I know kind of what he does. I know his, like, I know he's a demon from hell that makes steals and blah blah blah. And we all wanted him for WandaVision and blah blah blah. Like, I wanted to see him like for the bit. Like, I wanted to be like, hey, it's him. We asked for
It's
him
the
like
guy.
5 years ago. Yeah, it's him.
I'll talk on this bit last.
Okay, yeah. So it's like I didn't want. I only reason I wanted him just for we could finally say, oh, he's in the embassy. Because obviously there's a thing in Agatha, and like he appears and instantly I love him. It's so like this actor. What is it? The actor from like Poor Rot, right? Like
What is it? Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He has a presence instantly. He makes his presence known instantly, and within just this like what maybe 8 minutes of screen time in this episode, right? I already kind of wish he was the main villain in these upcoming movies. Like, I've given my thoughts on the whole Downey thing and how I kind of don't, love that direction. And I think this final episode came out and I realized there has been a connective tissues between these movies and TV shows. We just didn't realize it yet. And it kind of feels like it was Mephisto. Like you're building your stuff up through, obviously started all the way back with like WandaVision, which was your first proper project of Phase 4, and you continue that thread through Doctor Strange, and then you continue that through Spider-Man, and then you continue this stuff through Agatha. And we're about to get Vision Quest, and like I feel like a lot of these stories are these stories about like guilt and greed and selfishness, and these are kind of all these themes of Mephisto and kind of what he thrives on. And I kind of end the episode being like, I kind of wish Champions was what we're building towards this whole what's going to ultimately be 3 sagas, because it kind of would make sense. And obviously it wouldn't fit with your whole multiverse thing, right? But if I was in charge, and maybe it's a bad idea because half of it has been done in TV, but like after Kang had to go away, I would have been the guy like at the back of the room being like, you know what? Why not Mephisto? Like people were begging for him. People made thousands of videos on this, guys. If you called it like Avengers Mephisto's Revenge or something, I'd be like, okay, Rise of Mephisto or something. Like I feel like people would. I think that'd get butts and seats. You know what I mean? And maybe you can't because there's a whole thing in like China where you can't like have like devil propaganda in media. So maybe that's a thing.
Well, I guess they can't release an X-Men movie in China if Nightcrawler's going to be in it.
Yeah, like there's like there's that stuff at play, but like I kind of loved it.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm actually a fan of Mephisto and a lot of other media types. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm the expert. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I do really like the character. And there's the famous time in comics, and even other media have done this because you reminded me of it when you brought up Doctor Doom. So Doom's mother, there's a whole like backstory of where Doom's mother was a prisoner in Mephisto's realm, and it was somebody in her village that she essentially traded herself for to save, and then Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange teamed up and went to Mephisto's realm and freed her. And if we could see something of that regard with Benedict Cumberbatch, and because he would recognize the face of this Doctor Doom, maybe you could have something there because he does know that face. And I don't know if you want to bring Mephisto in that way, you could, but kind of like I've said about Ultron too, like that's a character that could be the big bad of a saga. And not just a one-off character in either a Doctor Strange movie or a Ghost Rider project, things like that. Like that's a way that not only is it a villain that's big enough for a saga, but it's also through that villain you can bring so many characters together. Like you can have Ghost Rider meet somebody like Doctor Strange and have that whole magic and hell type of magic dichotomy of like their different types of abilities that they possess.
Yeah.
You know, you could have the whole deal with the devil dichotomy that Mephisto is really infamous for. Of course, he, you know, was very prominent in what is considered by many to be the worst Spider-Man comic of all time, One More Day.
Yeah.
It was
Which
very
is
prominent.
basically what we did here in the season. Like I kind of feel
Yeah.
like a take on that story.
Yeah. I wish we would stop acknowledging that story, but that's
Yeah.
that's a different conversation.
We've already got references to it because the new Spider-Man movie, isn't that called Brand New Day?
Yeah, and No Way Home kind of took elements from Brand New Day,
Yes.
or not Brand New Day.
One more day.
Sorry.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
Is-
And yeah, that's I'm gonna get to that in a minute, but like,
would there be a chance we could get Mephisto for Spider-Man 4?
I doubt it,
dude. I mean, anything's possible now. I think,
I mean,
honestly.
if I kind of hope they don't adapt Brand New Day though. But granted, you know, they obviously One More Day is not that great of a story, and they took the most loose of adaptations for it for No Way Home and made it into a really good movie. So they could very well do that for Brand New Day too. There were probably a lot more of a heavy adaptation from the original story because it's the title of your movie.
I don't think they'll do this,
I don't
Jeffrey.
either.
I think mainly because that is a lot of homework, and I think unfortunately they don't. I don't think they want Doomsday. I think is a movie that they want anyone to go see and not have to be like, oh, you have to go watch Ironheart to understand what's going on here. And maybe they can reintroduce him here, but I feel like
Those also aren't two characters that would typically work together. Like they would compete for the hand of control.
Yeah.
But maybe I wouldn't be shocked if he's in it though. Like I would not be shocked if he.
Yeah,
like,
I would not be shocked.
So let's backtrack a little bit, right? So starting off with the finale episode. So episode 6 kicks off with giving us our backstory, not just for the Hood, but there is where we get our first introduction to Mephisto. We see him save Parker from this escape from a heist. They go into the pizza shop. It's hopping. It's lively. And they sit down and they have a little conversation about, aspirations in life. And very much so, again, in the Lucifer context, he asks Parker what he truly desires. And I think that is such a great element. And for those who aren't super, again, familiar with Mephisto, from what I understand, comic book Mephisto is not literally the devil like Lucifer, DC Comics Lucifer is. He is a cosmic entity that kind of embodies the characteristics of what the devil would be. He has his own pocket dimension that he calls hell, but it's not actually. So he's very much so, again, taking inspiration from the devil, making deals like the devil would. However, he is Mephisto. So he is, again, that cosmic entity that is making those deals. But, again, with a twist. He's going to take your soul, just like Lucifer would, right? So he makes this deal. He, gives Parker the Hood, is like, hey, you'll have riches beyond your imagination. You'll get to be, filthy, greasy rich is what he says, right? He gives him the Hood. He gives him the tools to go about that, but doesn't necessarily tell him how to do it or what to do. Is like, hey, here's your Hood. I'll see you later, dude. And the more that Parker uses the Hood, the more it corrupts him. I feel like that is kind of signifying the more of his soul that it is taking from him, right? So the magic comes at a cost, and they mention that a little bit later as well. Like when Riri and her family and friends, they're building the new suit. I really loved that sequence as well, using the car to create the new version of the Ironheart suit. I think it looked great. But they infuse that new suit with some magic from the daughter of one of Riri's mother's friends, who is, I believe the character's name is Zelma. She is pretty big in the kind of Doctor Strange-esque side of things. I think the story is Strange Academy, I believe. That is, yep, Strange Academy. So that is, again, another big element of, okay, where could we see these characters in the future? If not an Ironheart Season 2, what else could we see? And that comes back a little bit later on as well. But so we infuse the magic into the new version of the Ironheart suit. But by doing that, we erase the Natalie AI, which is a very sad moment, very big moment, and very much so something that is going to be sitting with Riri for a little bit throughout the rest of this episode. We have her go, and what she thinks originally is going to be just confronting Parker. She ends up having to fight young Han Solo in a little bit of a, a mid-game boss fight. The fight scene is very cool because it's kind of like somebody who doesn't necessarily want to fight you. It's like, oh, hey, dodge this, dodge that. It was very MCU of them to be like, all right, this is the only way that you can stop me, kick me where I don't have any, cybernetics. I think that was kind of, a little silly. Little silly. But I do like where they leave off. It's like, hey, we're not necessarily enemies, but we're not friends either. Yeah, this is not over, and it's gonna come back around. Like,
well, yeah, like that. Like that's the thing where it's like no one's characters are necessarily wrapped up. Like,
no,
they all kind of have their season endings, but it's like until next time, which I think.
No,
is
and so again,
really
to me,
important.
this felt like a mid-season finale. This felt like the halfway point of a movie. This didn't feel like a season finale. Certainly did not feel like a series finale.
Not a series finale, and I think that I think I actually personally thought it felt like a season finale. Personally, like I think I love that in the way where it's like I have to wait all summer to see how this wraps up.
I do think also the dichotomy there between Riri and Parker is very interesting, and seeing how very opposite the two of them starts, and then as we get further and further along this season, the closer and closer they become as far as motivation goes, right? So Riri going into this final fight is at her lowest point once again, right? She's lost her best friend AI. She's had to recreate this new suit. She's now lost her new friend with Zeke, who is now against her for all intents and purposes. And Parker is at his lowest point. He's lost his cousin. He is not, getting the fame and fortune that he so desired from Mephisto originally. He's kind of feeling like he's been given the short end of the stick in this deal. So he calls out to Mephisto in his, little secret panic room and is like, dude, what the heck is going on? Mephisto shows up and he starts talking in his British accent, which again reminds me a lot of the, Lucifer TV show Lucifer. I think it's very funny how he changes his personality based off of the scenario that he's in. This was very serious. This was hey, I gave you the power. I can take, he who giveth can taketh away, right? So I gave you that hood. I gave you the tools to succeed. If you're not succeeding, that's on you. That sounds like a personal problem to me. He's like, hey, power me up. Give me everything you can. He boops him on the nose and is like, go do your thing, dude. So we get our final showdown between Riri and the Hood. I really liked the visuals of this fight scene. I think seeing the magic kind of combined with the tech of the suit. Great visuals. I think having the kind of demon side of the Hood come out as well. Really, really cool looking. Again, I wish we got more of this. I wish that this was the direction that we were going in the MCU. I'm like, in a lot of ways, all of this magic stuff is 1,000 times more interesting to me than the multiversal stuff. WandaVision, Agatha, those were two of my favorite projects, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Well, yes, multiversal elements, but the magic, the dream walking and stuff like that. I think that is such a cool concept. And again, the fact that we have been speculating on this, omnipotent figure pulling the strings in the background since the beginning. Was it Mephisto? Was it Nightmare? They speculate that it's Dormammu. And I loved that when he was like, Riri's like, I know who you are, Dormammu. And he's like, Dormammu? Like, who do you, what? Like, that was great. Way big backtrack. Daredevil Born Again, right? If we got some sort of reference of like, Spider-Man's on vacation or something like that, just something small that it's like, okay, why are we not calling any other New York-based heroes?
Yeah,
we know why in the context of Ironheart, Riri tried to keep this to herself, because again, I don't think she wants any of her hero friends knowing that she worked with a criminal organization. Even though, again,
true. Yeah.
One of my other big nitpicks is that she does not care at all about her secret identity. She's just flying around, taking her suit off, not caring
like Iron Man
who sees her. There's restrictions when you do TV versus movies. And I think bringing up Brave New World is actually a very interesting perspective, right? So again, Ironheart was very self-contained. You got references to the larger MCU, but no real appearances, no real cameos, versus something like Brave New World. I didn't realize Bucky was in a scene. Until I watched it a couple nights ago. Like, that's cool. I didn't realize that there are some ties to the larger universe, and you can do that with the movies because they're movies. They're bigger blockbusters. You have a higher, a larger budget. You can expand it a little bit more. But I think, too, in some ways, Ironheart being very self-contained works a lot in its favor. I think it really does, because again, you're able to dive deeper into these magical elements. You don't have Doctor Strange coming in and saying, Riri Williams, you have messed with the fabric of magic, space, and time. You've made a deal with Mephisto. What are you doing? Like, you don't have that element. Right, like we had, like Kamartaj was referenced, right? Doctor Strange was referenced. I think that's more than enough. I don't need it to be a cameo fest.
Yeah,
I kind of want to go back slightly to the whole ending of it all, because I feel like we gotta
there
a little bit,
get ourselves back. Yeah,
but like, how do you feel about the ending? Because I think it's one of the more controversial MCU endings in a minute now. There's some people who think it's a brilliant ending to the show. There's some people that think it's a very disrespectful ending to both Riri and the show, like the show as a whole. How are we sitting with that? Are we okay that she accepts Mephisto's offer, or are we a little angry that that's where we left her character?
So, okay, we end things. Riri beats Parker, takes the hood, is walking out of the pizzeria, and stumbles into Mephisto. They sit down. She takes her Transformers cosplay off, as he refers to it as. And I loved how apprehensive Riri was. How very much so... Okay, deleted scene. Thank you. I knew I wasn't crazy. I loved how apprehensive Riri was, right? Is like, who is this guy? What is he doing? How does he have this magic? How does he know so much kind of about what's going on, about me? You get a little bit more of that background. He's kind of like hyping himself up. He's like, oh, hey, I've made all of these deals in the past. Like, you know how this came into play. That was all me, that sort of thing. And then we get to kind of the, okay, what do you desire? What do you want? How can I help you be a better hero, I guess, in a lot of ways. And again, Riri is at the lowest point of her journey. She has fallen very much so from where she wants to be. Yes, she beat the villain at the end of the day, but at what cost? She has lost her best friend in the AI form, and she now has this very powerful being offering her the one thing that she wants more than anything. And I think, too, as we're getting as we're getting the flashes of what we've seen previously, right? I think that that's Mephisto kind of prying into her mind, manipulating her to an extent. So I don't think that this decision was 100% hers. I think it's a lot of Mephisto, a lot of his manipulation. It's him pulling his mojo on her, so to speak, right? You see him stirring up the coffee, and you see the actual Mephisto reflection in the spoon. And I think that, again, that's a big signal, like, hey, yes, I'm giving her this quote-unquote choice, but there is no choice in the matter. You've already tapped into magic, and now I'm here to present a solution, and a solution to quite possibly a problem that he created in and of himself, right? Is how did Natalie actually disappear when they tapped into the magic side of the suit? Why did she disappear? I think it is Mephisto who caused Natalie to disappear, which then sent Riri down the spiral where she, then goes after Hood, takes the hood. She, in the end, keeps the hood. The hood is on, the cape is on the suit in this show as well, which I love that. But in the end, he has, again, brought her to her lowest point and coaxes her into making this decision because there's no other way around it. Would you, in the same position, make any different of a choice? Could you pass up that choice? I will bring your best friend back, and all you have to do is give me something you won't even miss. And here's the thing too, is because he did the same thing to Parker. Parker was very apprehensive, and it's like a car salesman, right? You walk in there, you're like, "Oh no, I'm just here to test drive." And then Mephisto's like, "Well, your old car's not doing too well. You've had this car for a while. Why don't we go for this test drive? Maybe let's look at a couple cars that might be out of your price range." Oh, that was a nice test drive, wasn't it? Wouldn't you and your family really love this new car? You could fit all your groceries, put the dog in there, take the kids to soccer practice. Like, this is a great vehicle, isn't it? We're having all these great deals. How could you say no? It's the end of the month. We'll give you a good financing rate. We'll extend the warranty on it. And that's exactly what he's doing here. Is he's hyping up the deal. He's making it feel too good to be true. And I think he's very charming in that aspect as well. He's got his British accent and everything too. So he's, got that kind of like authority to him. Can't unsee him as a car salesman. Yeah, that's what Mephisto's been doing. He's top car salesman at I don't know, like at Ford, let's say, right? Like, but he's very charming in that aspect too. I think he's a tough person to say no to. And also, again, he's not lying at all. He is telling 100% the truth, or at least his version of the truth, what he believes to be true. And it is exactly. And then it is up to Riri, it is up to Parker to then take what he's saying and run with it. Right?
And also he doesn't tell them what his end of the deal is, right? It's like something that you won't miss. I'd be like,
yes.
No, write it down on paper exactly what I
yeah, what is it? What am I giving to you?
That could be my soul, that could be my life. And what happens once anyone who's wearing that is filled up with all of that? Yeah. That stuff.
Yeah, and
we don't exactly know what that is. Exactly.
Well, I think I know exactly what that is. I think you saw it with Parker. Think about the hood. Every time he used his power, the corruption would grow on him until he fully became that kind of demon version of himself, right? That signifies the more you use Mephisto's power, the more of a hold he has over you, the more he owns your soul. Be careful what you wish for, the monkey's paw, all of these kinds of stories, again, very much so here. Riri, be careful what you wish for. You wanted, I don't think she asked for Natalie, the person, to come back. I think she just said, I want my friend back. I think, right? In her mind thinking in my mind thinking the AI version of herself. And that's why she thought at the beginning, oh my gosh, AI Natalie, whatever. And then she goes to touch her, see if she's real, and she's an actual person. And I think that's the realization where she's like, oh shoot, I messed up. But at this point, I don't care. I don't care what it costs me. My friend is back. She gives her the hug, and you see that corruption start to grow. You see that corruption start to spread. The suit is in the background the whole time with the hood and everything as well. And I think whatever the next project is that she is in, whether it is Strange Academy, whether it's Ironheart Season 2, whether she shows up in Vision Quest, which I think is a good possibility because we've got the Billy and Tommy aspect of that. Whether it's Doomsday. I think almost everybody would fall into that trap and make that deal. And I think that brings us back to a really good piece of this puzzle as well. Again, I started off with not liking the direction of Riri, thinking that she was unlikable, going down a bad path, right? This back half really made me connect to the character. I love her motivation. I really enjoy her backstory. And I think playing devil's advocate here, more than anything, I wholeheartedly agree with her as far as why she made this deal. I can see why she made this deal. Was it the right choice? No, but I see the vision. No pun intended, right? I see the vision for where they are going. You had to sit back, let them cook, and really get us to this point of, okay, again, somebody who has seen all of this crazy cosmic stuff go down, seeing the connection and bringing the magic element into the life of somebody who's been so tech and science based until now, and seeing all of this supernatural stuff happen and being like, you know what? Screw it. Let's see what happens. Let's say yes, because what's worse than what's going on right now? I don't have my friend. I don't have my AI. I don't have my stepfather. I don't have a working suit and things like that. It's like, what's the worst that could happen? I've already hit rock bottom. And again, I would be hard pressed to find anybody in that same position that wouldn't make that choice. Again, big moral dilemma, and that seems to be our theme for this year's worth of streams is moral dilemmas in these shows. But I think again it presents such a great question, and this show did for me what I wanted it to do. Is it changed my opinion on Riri from episode 1 to episode 6. I wholeheartedly really enjoyed the journey. I think she's in a very, very interesting spot, and this might be right now the storyline that I am the most interested in, outside of whatever's going to go on with Billy, Tommy, possibly bringing back Wanda and the Vision side of things.
Yeah, and like, we talked about it last week, but like the main theme of this show that I wanted, or I like the ultimate angle I wanted was Riri to realize with Natalie being here, she's never fully grieved. Like, she's someone who never fully grieved over Natalie, and by having her like AI counterpart there, that was like a buffer of like, oh, I don't have to grieve because she's always with me and she's always here. And I do think it has to be a story of like, oh, I have to let you go. I can't. You are holding me back from living my own life, and I've been living in the past, but you have to go now, kind of thing.
Right. And this kind of thing it's unnatural. But here's the thing: there is that through line, right? I mean, in a lot of ways, there is like you said, the grief. What is WandaVision about? Wanda and her grief about the loss of Vision. What is Agatha about? Agatha and really the grief of losing her child, right? Like, that's kind of a big through line there. What is Ironheart about? Riri and the grief of losing her best friend and her stepfather. What is Doctor Strange about? In a lot of ways, it's his grief of losing the love of his life to somebody else. And it brings you back to, this is where I'm going to leave it, is the big theme, the big through line of WandaVision, that big line that Vision said. What is grief if not love persevering? Dude, this show ended up being so much more emotional, so much deeper than I thought. And again, I was invested for I want to see Mephisto. Let's see the dude that's been the head of all the MCU memes for the last 5 years, right? Let's see new rock stars finally get to say Mephisto confirmed. I think he just plucked her soul, is what it is. I think it's a soul for a soul. I think that in order to, is a soul for a soul, there is a balancing act to the universe. And maybe the big thing is going to be, maybe we travel to Mephisto's hell dimension. And you're going to have to make that sacrifice. Maybe Riri's going to want to sacrifice her own life in order for Natalie to live. But Natalie's like, hey, no, I'm not even supposed to be alive. Let's recreate the AI. You have that, that piece of me is always going to be with you. I shouldn't be here. You're the one who needs to live on and survive and carry on my legacy. I think that's where that storyline ultimately goes.